Okay, let's talk about the cloud. You've probably heard that term thrown around 1,000 times, but what is it really? Is it an actual cloud up in the sky? Some kind of giant floating hard drive? Well, today, we're going to cut right through the jargon to really understand this invisible technology that, let's be honest, powers pretty much everything we do online.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll pin down what the cloud actually is. Then, we'll dig into why it became such a massive game changer. After that, we'll check out the different flavors of cloud out there and decode the menu of services they offer. And to wrap it all up, we'll take a look at where this is all headed.
All right, part 1. What exactly is the cloud? Let's break it down.
You know, you use the cloud every single day, probably without even thinking twice about it. That Netflix show you're binging? The photos that automatically back up from your phone? Your entire email inbox? Yep, it all lives in the cloud. But what does that actually mean?
Okay, at its very core, cloud computing just means you're getting services, like servers, storage, you name it, over the internet, instead of having to own and run all that stuff on your own computer. But the truly brilliant part is the pay-as-you-go model. It's just like your electricity bill. I mean, you don't build your own power plant, right? You just plug into the grid and pay for what you use. The cloud basically turned computing power into a simple utility.
Now, this whole thing didn't happen overnight. It really started taking shape way back in 1999 with Salesforce. Then, in 2002, a little company called Amazon Web Services, or AWS, popped onto the scene. But the real explosion, that happened in 2006. AWS launched two services, EC2 and S3, which are basically rentable computer servers and massive-scale storage. And just like that, anyone could rent supercomputing power on demand. That changed absolutely everything.
Okay, so that's the what. But why? Why did the cloud completely take over the entire tech world? Well, the answer comes down to a handful of really revolutionary benefits.
And this visual, this really captures the why perfectly. It's this amazing cycle. By moving to the cloud, companies could slash what they spent on hardware, and that freed up cash to invest in new ideas. It let teams collaborate from anywhere, and it gave them the kind of security and reliability they needed to grow. It wasn't just one little thing, it was a complete transformation of how a business could even operate.
And hey, the proof is in the numbers. I mean, think about this. Way back in 2016, a staggering 95% of organizations were already using the cloud. Just let that sink in. In about a decade, it went from a niche little idea to the absolute standard. That's not a trend, my friends. That is a complete paradigm shift.
But here's the interesting part. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. Back in 2016, a massive 71% of companies weren't just using one type of cloud. Nope, they were using a hybrid model, which is a mix of different approaches. And that tells you the number one thing businesses were looking for was flexibility.
So let's just boil it down to these core advantages. First, cost savings. You're not buying tons of expensive servers anymore. Then, scalability. A small startup can grow into a global giant without ever building its own data centers. Their app can go viral overnight and it won't crash. Flexibility. You pick and choose only the exact services you need. And a huge one, security. You're basically protected by the billion-dollar security budgets of companies like Amazon and Google.
So if you're a business, how do you choose? Well, like we just saw, there isn't just one type of cloud. So let's take a look at the different flavors that are available.
This graphic lays out the main models pretty clearly. You've got public, private, and hybrid. Those are the big three we're going to focus on. And then there's a more specialized one called a community cloud.
Let's start by comparing the two main options, public and private. Think of the public cloud like a huge apartment building. It's super cost-effective and you can get more space whenever you need it, but you are sharing the building's infrastructure. On the other hand, the private cloud, that's like owning your own house. It's all yours, giving you maximum control and security. This is the kind of thing banks or governments would use.
So, what about that hybrid model we saw that 71% of companies were using? Well, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You get the best of both worlds. You keep your most sensitive data locked down in your private house, but you use the public apartment building for everyday tasks or when you suddenly need a ton of extra power. It gives you that perfect balance of security and flexibility.
All right, there's one last layer to this whole thing. So after you've picked your cloud type, public, private, or hybrid, you have to choose your service model. It's time to check out the menu.
This pyramid is the perfect way to visualize the three main service models. You build from the bottom up. You've got Infrastructure as a Service, or IaaS, then Platform as a Service, PaaS, and right at the top, Software as a Service, SaaS. And here's the key. The higher you go up that pyramid, the more that gets done for you. You know what? Let's use a pizza analogy. It makes it super simple. IaaS is like someone handing you the keys to a professional kitchen. You get the ovens, the power, the water, but you got to bring your own dough and ingredients. It's for IT admins who want total control. Next up, PaaS. That's like getting the kitchen and the pizza dough. You just have to add your own creative toppings. This is perfect for software developers building apps. And SaaS? That's the easiest one. That's just ordering a pizza. It shows up ready to eat. That's your Office 365, your Slack, software you just use.
So, we've covered the what, the why, and the how. Now let's just pull it all together and take a quick look at the big picture. If you take away just one thing from all this, let it be this. The cloud is so much more than a place to store your files. It's a fundamental shift that turned computing power from this bulky, expensive product you had to own into a simple service you subscribe to. And it powers everything from your laptop to your phone.
But all of this incredible convenience leads us to one final and really crucial question. Our photos, our emails, our most personal information, pretty much our entire digital lives now live on physical servers owned by just a handful of giant corporations. So as we move deeper and deeper into this cloudy future, maybe the most important question we need to ask is, who is ultimately in control of our data?